Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel. We have an awesome guest here today for his second time on the show, Rootz. And we're going to be doing a part 1, part 2. So you'll be able to hear that back-to-back weeks with me and Rootz. How are you?
I am amazing. I am grateful to be here. I'm just presencing into the now. It's definitely been a beautiful experience this last 3-4 days, coming a full circle, like since when we first connected.
Yeah.
With the last time we were here, right? It's been a whole life since then.
Right? Oh, wow. And last time, he had a different experience. He was not in the studio. He was actually on the phone. So, I'm curious to see how what comes through in person.
Absolutely. And I can already tell it's going to be a different experience, right? Because I'm hearing myself, I'm feeling into what it is that I'm even sharing, and like really cognitively, like loudly projecting into my own consciousness at this point. And it's like, it's so fascinating. Like I said, like right before we came in here, I was like, well, let's talk about shadow work today. Let's actually explore doing the deeper dives with ourselves. And, like right now, hearing myself, it's like literally, what are you saying? What are you coding into reality? Because everything you speak, you're creating. And so now hearing myself, articulating even deeper, like, wow, this is how people hear me. This is how they receive me.
Oof.
But now can I receive myself?
Whoa. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You all right, bud? Throat chakra clearing, guys.
Just feeling that up. Yeah.
It's quite interesting. So last week, a week ago, literally, I had a procedure on the root, essentially, yeah. And I got roots here. So I'm curious to see how that unfolds with this whole journey of the shadow work.
Right. And it's like, I've been using tarot for years as like the tool to experience myself. But now I'm finding like oftentimes it's like literally working with another person. You actually get to dive deeper because now then you're being reflected, right? Like listening to a podcast, you're getting to hear and feel the frequencies of another being in their work. Whatever their work may look like or be like, you're now getting to experience their almost form of shadow work.
Right.
So it's fascinating because like we said, we didn't really have a plan for this, but it's like, what forms of shadow work have you been working with? And it's like, then you also have to define what shadow is. And it's almost like that unconscious part of yourself, or it's the part that you might hide away from or not really share with everyone, right?
Right. I'm curious to see how what unfolds with this shadow work. One, during the time of what we just walked into. So today in the studio and in this time, okay, you'll hear this next week. So we'll be at a different part, but it became Sagittarius season in the sun, like literally within the last 24 hours. So right now we're setting the sacred space for our expansion, for that higher learning. So Sag is the eternal optimist. So it's interesting to have this perspective when we're talking about shadow work. Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, and we just finished the full moon and it did an eclipse, right? So it was like, let's stripping away everything that's not serving us. Like, full moons are already like, let's illuminate everything and get you to really see it. And then the eclipse is also like, well, bye, let's go. let's do it up, And then that's why it's so fascinating. Now we're going into, well, for me, I start to then like recognize, okay, cool. So I got to experience a lot of really cool things. And now with Sagittarius energy, it's like, keep planting, keep moving forward, keep tilling the fields into then creating. What is it that you're next wanting to plant?
Right.
What are the next seeds that you're wanting to foster into your existence? Like what does the next phase look like, feel like, be like for you? And I feel like that's really the essence of shadow work, because that's the unconscious programming that you may not be fully articulately aware that is there.
Right.
Right.
Right. And, what's really interesting is now what's coming through is it's also very similar to what we spoke upon. What's it called on that one app that Elon Musk created? Carm and Lisa and you and me, and we're on that app.
Oh, the WhatsApp?
No.
Or Telegram? Oh, Clubhouse.
Clubhouse, yes.
Clubhouse, oh.
So we actually had a whole conversation about Scorpio energy and everything. And honestly, what brings up to me is kind of like we're now reflecting on what we just went through in Scorpio. And so now we need some integration and some perspective on that shadow work.
Right. And it's like not even always trying to like, oh my God, I got to do more work. Oh my God, I'm never going to be perfect. It's like, well, congratulations. First of all, none of us will ever be perfect. So if you've got the idea of striving for perfection, go ahead, throw that out the window. Okay. Because there's the presence of being present to the present. Right? Being fully embodied, recognizing, feeling yourself, feeling that frequency of this is who I am and this is what I'm feeling inspired to do, right? Feeling comes before all this thinking. We get so caught up in the mind, and guess what happened? How we became within our mind is how we were trained or how we were pre-programmed to be, or how somebody else said, hey, you should do this. Why? Because I said so. And instead, now we get to come to that phase of like, let's figure out what codes we, as this individuated, divine reflection of God consciousness, I desire to create, and how you desire to create, right?
Right.
That's why your podcast is Energy Speaks, right? We were just at a park yesterday, and a being there was, his name was Wade. And then he broke it down to, we are divine energy.
Oh, wow.
And it was like really fascinating. I was like, yeah, if you break down the words of your name or, the letters of your name to then create new words or new phrasing, like I remembered his name because he broke it down that way.
Wow.
I was like, wow, yeah, we are divine energy. You're right. And it was like, then the way that he shared was just, it impacted the heart. It was like, let's speak from here and not trying to create more drama from what the world brings or anything. It was like, let's play. And that was the fascinating frequency for me, was like, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to engage in life in a bigger depth.
Oof.
That before I was like, I'm going to be a little caterpillar forever. And I'm like, no, we got things to do.
Right.
I feel like this last season, since literally we spoke last on this podcast, I went through this whole metamorphosis frequency of like just really seeing myself. Like if I had no external impact, what would I be like? And then it's like, everybody got a hold of this COVID frequency, and everybody's like, let's close down. Let's shut up all the stores and not do anything. And so even like last year I was busy. I was constantly doing something. And now this year I'm like, no. This is the longest that I've been away from my home in 7 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, normally I'm like, I literally go out of my park for like one day. Oh, I'm at a resort. So I'm resorting myself.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Breaking down the etymology of our words, breaking down the words. Like Carm said it beautifully earlier. I mean, as she does, she shares everything beautifully. I can't even remember what the exact word that it was. Oh, it was enrollment. So it's like in like entrance, moving into roll, so to roll, and then ment in the mind. So enrollment literally means to engage your mind into a process that you might otherwise not be wanting to do.
Oh, wow.
And that's just from the etymological breakthrough of the words. But then a program that I've been doing, Landmark, we use that phrasing to be like, I'm sharing such a story that you are so enrolled into it that even you want to create that type of change for yourself. And it was like, both are valid expressions of this word.
Right. I think that's the interesting aspect of, duality. But I also want to say, since we are now in Sagittarius. Our Earth is in Gemini. And okay, so 180 degrees away from, like we had a full moon in Taurus, right? But we were in Scorpio season.
Okay.
So when the next full moon will be in Gemini. It's always 180 degrees. It's like
the opposite side.
The
of the
opposite
spectrum.
sign,
Right.
yeah.
Totally.
So the reason I bring that up is I've had so many conversations, in regards to Gemini energy, and with a Gemini in the past that I spoke upon, and she really did paint a new light of what Gemini is. And like we get a lot of the idea of duality with Gemini, but because we get the twins and the dialogue back and forth, and it kind of seems like dark and light type of thing. But when she broke down Gemini, like a gem, and the many facets,
Oh my God, I love that.
it's like this full color spectrum, and it's like that's why the Gemini energy can be so like beautiful, because it's wanting to look at every single facet and process that information, and it cares about every single facet, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily know how to respond. Like there's so much information coming in. And another thing with integration is being able to take in and breathe through that information and allow it to be intuitive. I think I feel like Scorpio kind of prepares us for that, like, wait, we don't have to do the mind thing right now if it's not serving us. All right, breathe, now feel everything.
Right, and even think about it, embodiment literally means in body, meant. So it's the body presence, mentality. So being in your body, so being embodied is to literally be in your body. Right. Yeah. So when we're embodying these truths, we are literally feeling these truths to our heart and to our truest essence of being, instead of fully just locked into the mental framework of, oh my God, I've got to do this because XYZ. I got to do that because of XYZ and LMNOP, versus, I'm here, I'm in my body. Wow. I feel this breath coming in, and like I'm being present to my breath and present to that sensation, versus like running around because my head said that I have all these things that I've got to do, my to-do list, right? It's like feeling into what part of my to-do list feels exciting or feels nourishing or feels yummy. And that's not to say like don't do the things that don't feel yummy, but then create it so that they're like nobody really wants to take out the trash, but it does feel good to have the house without trash in it or stinky or whatever. It's like sometimes we do have to, muck through the mud, but what grows in the mud? Lotuses. So be like a lotus and allow for yourself to go through it, and not beating yourself up because, oh my God, there's muck that I've got to muck through, but don't make your entire life mucky. Right. And a lot of us, like, we just hold still to that muckiness. And just to like backpedal a little bit to the Gemini frequency. Yeah. We actually drew it today. We drew the Gemini frequency in a beautiful reading that we did at the house. It was 45 minutes. I'm not encapsulating the whole thing, but it braced it that like, the Gemini does focus on all these different fractals of all these things that excite them that they're wanting to communicate and talk about. And that's the thing. It's like, as you're excited or as you're experiencing something, communicate about it.
That's important.
How often do we just like hold it in? Everybody's got that little genie in the bottle, right? Well, what happens when the genie in the bottle doesn't get rubbed the right way and then it freaks the fuck out? Sorry. Bust out of the proportion. Like, I don't know if we can cuss on this channel, but
energy speaks.
Perfect. Right. Cool. And there's actually a thing about like, people that actually cuss, they're usually just letting their frequency come out. They're not holding themselves back. Right. So again, letting the genie out the bottle, so to speak, because And to bring back in the Gemini frequency, it's like they are fascinated by so many things. I'm a Venus and Jupiter in Gemini. So literally what I focus on, I expand super quickly, and then I contract and I go into something else. And then I'm excited by that thing, and then it blows up. And then I'm excited about something else, and then that blows up. And it's like literally the instant that I'm interested in something, I then immediately find or am surrounded by these people who are like, oh, drop dead about it. Like they're just gorgeous, they're amazing, they're phenomenal. And it literally, anytime I'm ever fascinated by anything, it just expands.
You know, I really love that explanation because many times I'll look at my chart. I have Mars in Gemini in retrograde. It's part of my yod as well.
I don't know what miad means.
No, my yod. You know, like a yod in astrology?
No.
Oh.
Nope. That's not my frequency. I'm not an astrology kid. I know my astrology because I'm a Leo. Look, I know about me.
Well, we've talked about astrology before, and you've
totally.
like there. I didn't know where you were at with things. So essentially, a yod is like in Judaism we call it. You know, like it's our little pointer of what we, use to read the Torah. In astrology, okay, so let's actually go there. Okay, so it's a little pointer, literally a finger pointer that we use. Okay, now in astrology, it is the finger of God pointing you towards your soul mission. And so I have 2 of those in my chart, and they're kind of rare. So apparently, I think it was like Prince Harry or William, one of the 2 have 2 in their charts. I was like, holy crap. Carm sent me, of course, this stuff about yods and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I've been trying to figure out that aspect of Mars in Gemini and retrograde. Like, yeah, I mean, I get downloads, but it's like the way you just expressed it, and it made a lot of. I'm making connections, and that's part of my yod is to like figure that out, but allow it to organically show itself, not me press for it. Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed with that is like I will probably get more out of that dynamic by probably meditating and allowing the frequency to come to me.
Well, it's also like feeling into what are you now inspired to work with, right? Because Mars frequency is a lot about moving and doing things. It's very assertive, masculine-esque energy.
Right.
And, one way or the other. You just got to do, but it's all out, again, about communicating what you're thrilled by, communicating what you're excited about, communicating what you're enrolled in. Right? Yeah. If you're not enrolled into it, you're going to be like, okay, that's kind of cool. Next. I'm like, I get it. Like, and that's why I had to laugh about like, my Venus in Gemini, because literally I'm excited by something. I connect with somebody who's really passionate about it as well. And then it's like, boom, it blows up super huge. And then it's like, okay, cool. Next, on to the next thing.
Wow.
And it's like, I'd say it's ADD because Gemini brain is kind of like, ooh, shiny. Next thing. And, I'm like, okay, cool. I love it because I have some amusing. They're very muses. They're amusing friends who are Geminis, and they are like the light of my life. They smile about everything. They're super excited. They're super enrolled in whatever it is that they're presently at. But holy that's exhausting. Because it's like 1 second, I'm learning how to paint. And then the next second, I'm learning how to, build shells. The next second, I'm doing podcasts. The next second, I'm doing this other thing over there. Now, what I'm focusing on is all these aspects, right? Mm-hmm. How can I make all these aspects still about me? And like just coming at it from a different mentality, a different framework, to then make it easier, right? Because my Leo's also on Mercury. So if I can talk about myself, boom, I'm great. I'm golden, right? It's my first house, it's my sun sign, and it's my Mercury. I am a Leo all day. But within there, I'm also the reclusive Leo because I'm like, I don't like to make it all about me. But then it's like, wait, I'm literally doing my entire role a disservice, right? Because my entire thing is about going and connecting with people, going and making new changes, going and just being present to what's there, figuring out what I love, broadcasting the fuck out of what I love, and then going on to find something new.
You know, one thing I've noticed about Leos is, and the Leo energy, I should say, because we all have Leo in our chart, some way, shape, or form. But it's leading with the heart.
Yes. Oh my goodness. and that's the other part. It's like, you know, and that's part of me coming back into embodiment, right? This last 7 months, I totally recognize I've been in my head. I've been working on my energy, but it's like I've been working on it from incompletion. Like the mind is air. That's it, right? The mind is mental energy. It's air, frequency. And it's like, okay, cool. But as a fire sign, I need more than just air. Otherwise, I'm just suffocating, right? I got to have earth. I've got to have emotions to like work with as well, particularly moist earth because it's easier to burn. Well, then just, I mean, I was thinking of it instead of it being like dead, dry grass stuff.
You're straight up fire. You have a lot of Aries too, don't you?
Yes, and then Sagittarius.
And
I don't
Sag.
have any water or earth in my chart.
Well,
I mean, yeah, it's in my houses for sure, but like with planets and stuff associated with them.
with their
no.
signs. Gotcha.
Yeah, no.
I'd love to look at your chart sometime.
Oh yeah, you want to look at my chart, baby?
Oh my gosh. I love our speak.
It's great. It's great.
Oh man. Wow. I was gonna say something, but I can't remember what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Nothing like a good slip in there, and you just freak out about it. Everything is fine. It's like, wait, where was I going? I forgot. I got blushing over energy over here now. Look at you're like almost as red as your shirt.
Yo. You know, I've been incorporating red more. Like, my car's red now. Like, just like, I'm feeling that red energy, that root energy.
And then you know, you're doing a podcast, a 2-part podcast with a person named Rootz. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh, what are those?
Those
I'm having
are
a Gemini moment.
Right. Those are astrology dice. I pulled them out specifically for you. They're a lot of fun.
Oh,
yes.
I want to play. Can we play?
Yes, absolutely. So, for those of y'all who are listening, obviously you can't see them, but what this is one of the dice is, 1 through 12. These are 12-sided dice. There's the ones that has the houses. There's the ones that has the planetary signs, and then there's the one that has the planetaries and a couple of extra symbols that I know, like South Node and the North Node.
Yeah.
Also included onto them, and like one other sign, I can't remember which it is.
So does it read like that? The bottom?
It reads the top one.
Or is it like that?
So, what are you talking about?
So
that's
north.
Jupiter.
No, not Jupiter. No.
Or Saturn. Oh yeah,
Is this
the
the
line
bottom?
the line on the bottom is the bottom.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Pluto. Gotcha.
Right. See.
Oh, what are we embodying right now?
Go ahead. Boom. What are we embodying right now? Let's see. We are working on the frequency of Gemini. Imagine that. With the North Node and 9th house.
Okay, so the house of Sagittarius. Now that's just completely hilarious.
Okay, so
So North Node is what we're learning here, and it has to do with our soul missions.
okay.
This is really comical.
Of course it is. That's literally okay. So anybody who's new and totally novice about divination, so this is the frequency that's being offered, is that anytime that there's a possibility of randomization, that you are now able to see on an easier platform. Okay, so go ahead. With that, so anytime divination pops up, it's literally creating the possibility of getting to understand your reality from a new perspective in a new way. And with dice, it's very simple, it's very easy. With cards, it's the same frequency. You're literally allowing for the universe to kind of come in and shuffle up whatever is possible, whatever's happening, to now get to really see what's present. And you'll have these intuitive pings, and sometimes it won't even really be about whatever the sign is. It's just whatever is coming alive for you so that you can be able to work with it easier, and just be able to work with yourself. And that's part of what shadow work is allowing for yourself to, through whatever symbols you're deciding to work with. Like I have 2 oracle decks, 2 tarot decks with me right now, and I'm just as well as the astrology dice, and they all work in different ways. But the thing is they all work in the same way of using the randomization of the universe to allow for yourself to get to really witness yourself.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of an interesting time here in the studio. Like I said, I had a procedure on the root.
Look, I saw you over there squirming in pain. I was like, go get yourself a better chair, baby. Like that other chair was just rough. It's rough for me right now. I can't even.
Sorry, bud.
No worries. I got cushions. I could have brought one up. I didn't think about it.
But one thing I will say, when we're in an uncomfortable space, it allows for growth. So let's see how this allows for growth within the dice. As Rootz has now explained, how these work, essentially.
Right. Okay, so the 9th house you said is the frequency of Sagittarius, right?
Yeah,
So go ahead and explain that, would you?
So like the house of Sagittarius would be like higher learning. It actually incorporates court, which is interesting.
Okay.
But expansion is part of that. And so long journeys is also a part of that. And of course, magic and miracles, that type of mentality. Then we have Gemini, which we've been talking about, which is hilarious. Mm-hmm. So we're working on our communication,
So even like communicating about the journey that we're on, communicating about the experiences that we are having right now, and with the North Node, then also like where we're going, where we're trying to work on, and that's part of the journey, right? Is just communicating about wherever it is that you are, and not making yourself. And this is a huge thing: is not making yourself wrong. Right. Our world has created all these different paradigms. They're like, you're wrong for this, you're wrong for that. And you're just like, but am I? Like, this is what I'm feeling. Like, I'm just going to out myself, and tell one on myself. It's like, being gay always had this extra frequency of like, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you're not man enough. Oh, you're not this enough. And I'm like, okay, cool. But do I have to be any of those things? Or can't I just be myself? And that's the frequency that I'm now stepping into because, I've done a lot of different types of jobs. I've done a lot of different types of like big butch manly things. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm glad that somebody enjoys doing that or likes doing that, or maybe they don't even like doing it, but they just do it because that's what they know to do. It's not my bag. Right.
Right.
It's like, I like cards. I can play with cards for hours, days, months, weeks, years, and centuries. And I'm okay with that. But,
that's your niche.
That's my niche. That's what I enjoy, right? I can then enjoy with it. And that's the frequency that we're all here to really dial in on is like, what are you actually able to enjoy with?
Right.
Right. The other thing that I really like doing is painting. I really am fascinated by it. Am I great at it? No. But I find fun in it. And that's the part of the process is to find things that right now you may not be great at. And I want to invite you all to reflect that you're probably level 1 on something or another that you like and that you want to get better at, and allow yourself to be level 1. And what does a beginner do? They ask questions, they explore, they say, hey, I want to learn how to do this. Can you show me how to do this? Like, I don't know what to do.
You want to hear something funny?
Yes.
When I did the Zodiac Energy Empowerment series, you know what Leo class was?
What?
Painting. Oh. And I had one thing I love doing with that series is having another person to kind of co-teach with because it created the balance. So I had I was doing kind of like an au pair, whatever, like babysitting, whatever you want to call it, but full time in the home. And the girl, one of the girls I was watching, she was a little Leo, and I was like, well, you want to help me teach this class? No one can do it better than a Leo. And so she's going around telling everybody how to do this, and I'm like, it's perfect. Scorpio holds space, Leo teaches it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's funny is we're actually one of the classes that I'm working on doing. We're actually looking for a Scorpio who's also into astrology.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And or with tarot, because it's like I've got a Taurus, Aquarius, and then of course myself being a Leo. So we're all fixed signs. So we're just looking for our Scorpio, also super interested in tarot cards frequency to just bring it, round us out, right? Because like I'm gonna talk about tarot from my perspective, and everybody else does as well. Like I've got my Aquarius. Oh my God, I love him so much. He's like fully into the Kabbalah. He's fully into all that lore and all that mysticism. And I'm like, I love you. I have no interest in doing any of that. Then the Taurus is like fully grounded. They're fully present to all possibilities. She's already made like 5 different classes and workshops within it with like how to teach it from beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And she's amazing. And then of course me, I'm still like that flame, super excited, passionate about it, wanting to learn how to do it better and still teach it, because I just see all these babies running around and I'm like, baby, I need you to stop. I need you to stop. Stop picking up Doreen Virtue and go to somebody else. Rachel Pollack, 78 cards of wisdom. Thank you. Shameless plug. Love Rachel Pollack. Anyway. And so, you know, looking for a Scorpio friend.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know you were, what do you, like, is this in-person teachings or is this online?
This will be an online experience. We're doing it, well, we haven't started it yet, but it's like literally just rounding out the team to flesh it out into creating what we want to create.
Wow.
To recognize, like, I mean, the Aquarius and the Taurus, they've already got classes. They're already like, that's what they do. They're ready. But again, the flame, you have to have the flame, the excitement, the passion to literally bring it. Right. I've been recognizing it more and more, like just the way that both of them market, they're not really showing up. And maybe that's because they're just waiting for me to say, hey, I want to do it. Can you show me how you would do it? And I'm thinking about it because honestly, my head doesn't wrap around it long enough.
Right.
Like I'm a flame. I'm a fire. I literally am excited. I'm there. I can teach it. Boom. I'm excited. I can help be present with every person. And I'm like, I love being present with somebody. Like, you got a million questions? And cool, let's go. But then after a while, I'm like, I don't have any more fuel. I'm done. Like a Taurus, they would still just keep powering through it. They would just keep going. No.
The Scorpio would sit there and go to layer and deeper and deeper.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'd be over there sipping my Starbucks and just be like,
you know, that is the one thing that I've noticed. It's like, okay, I know I can teach, but it's like I have to be in the right. I don't know. It's like that sacred space that we set is super important for drawing people in, because it may be over someone's head if they're not in it for that process, because that's the way I teach is in depth. Not going to do it any other way because I don't know how to do it any other way.
Right. And that's actually the frequency that I dance on, is because I recognize that, like, while I know that the rabbit hole goes deep, I'm like, let me feel, and I read the room. Like, oh my God. I remember that time that we did the Kabbalah class and I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, I love you, but no, I'm good. Like, I'm so sorry. I cannot. I'm grateful that you're doing it, but no. Nope. That's a whole lot of nope rope. But, you know, I ended up just sharing that class with somebody and they were like, wow, the person's so in depth with it. And I'm like, I know. He was like just jumping into his Kabbalic journey and they were like fully ready for it. And I'm like, great. I'm glad you like it, because I don't remember a single thing of it. I was in it for 45 minutes. I don't remember any of it, except for that I remember that there's actually 4 different Tree of Lives all stacked onto each other. And I was like, I was already confused with the first one, and now you've got 4 of them. And I'm like, bye.
Oh my God.
Because when Catriel talks about getting deep, man, does he go deep.
It's kind of effortless. Oh boy, you just went there. I love how I just like was totally up here and like flying over it, and then I was like, oh, and down into the abyss.
And down. Oh yeah, that's what we're calling it now. It's the abyss. Oh, you know.
So I was originally going back to the dice, going to ask you where you're going, but I sent that to your higher self, and I'm saying it this way so that the viewer, or more so listeners,
right,
are, seeing how things can work in the universe. Is like I just asked Rootz a question, but it was internally, and he spoke it out organically. He didn't know this. Like, we may not understand, like, here's something in our head, but, him being fire, his, like, it just kind of naturally went that way. And it was like, I know I'm supposed to speak on this right now, And I don't know, that's super freaking cool. I just want to say, especially, like, the telepathic communication we can have, And
it's funny because, like, again, you just feel into where you're at. You're just being present to, like, for me, I was just paying attention to where I'm at. What am I feeling? And then I just shared from that. Like, stream of consciousness, no immediate thought processes if it has to be a certain way or it needs to look like this. Just being present.
Right.
And that's all I was at. So I'm honestly, like, as a fire is, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. I was just present. But that's actually the interesting part about doing shadow work, right? Is like that, what is mine? What is somebody else's thoughts? And then how do I actually fully stay present within just myself and no one else?
Oof.
Right? And that's actually a huge part of shadow work, because like even this morning I was sharing an experience of doing card readings, right? Doing card readings in an open space in the house, and it was actually the first person apparently who had taken upon themselves to do it. But as I was doing it, I was overcoming the shame, guilt, fear of, oh, what will that person think? Is it okay that I do this? Are they gonna be mad that I do this, or is it like not allowed? And as I was feeling that, I was then having to consciously actually rewriting it, saying like, if they have a problem, they will address it. They know their sacred no. They're fully capable of saying their sacred no. And then I worked with that. I mean, I'm still sitting and literally reading the cards, viewing and showing people on the video that this is what was processing, this is what was happening, this is the thing. And then like later on, I was able to talk with the person whose space it was, and just again, creating clarity about this is what I was feeling. I talk a lot. I'm not used to this. And then, but within there, sharing with them, and they were able to reflect back and say, I was feeling those weird codes. I wasn't sure where it was coming from because it wasn't for me. And I was like, and this just links back to that telepathic communication, right? Yeah. It can be in the field and none of us address it. But in her head, it was just, I'm grateful that somebody's using the space. I'm grateful that somebody's using the equipment. I'm so thankful that they're taking the time to use it. Meanwhile, I'm over there like, is it okay?
If you don't mind, I want to address two of the things that you just mentioned. Well, one on your journey, and I'm going to tie that in with some shadow work as well. So I just received an email on Friday that I got accepted into the conservative yeshiva in Israel, in Jerusalem specifically. And I've been tuning in very specifically on like, where do I want to go? Like, what do I want to do? And I've been having this, inner dialogue with Hashem, saying like, I know I get a choice on what I want to do, I know there's a divine plan as well, but like, I'm just going to communicate what I really, really would like to do and see where that plays out in the divine plan. And so I have a marker board, that same marker board that I taught on with like 20 like 5 yeshivas on there, trying to figure out yeshiva, guys. Sorry, is a place of learning, and it's learning.
So like a learning center or like a
for Judaism,
Okay,
specifically Jewish studies. So you're talking about Torah, Talmud, prayer, like all of it, Kabbalah, all of it. And it's very in-depth study. And so there's different types. There's so many in Israel, obviously, you know, like that's the place where everything is, you know, but I was not guided to just reach out to all 25, you know? Like I tuned in and I received the morning of my procedure, you know, to see if there was a conservative yeshiva. And I did. Then I reached out and I didn't get I got an email not long after I sent it, saying, you know, hey, our applications are due tomorrow. All right. And can I have an interview with you in the morning? Sure.
Buckle up, baby. Let's go.
Right? Like,
are you sure this is the ride you want? Because you've got less than 24 hours to respond. Let's go.
So I immediately responded back and said, yes, how is this time? And then we had the meeting. They really loved, you know, it felt like a perfect fit.
Perfect.
And so I had inquired about one other yeshiva prior to, and still have one that I am still inquiring about as well, because options are always good, you know. And so, but essentially, where all this comes into play is, I really feel like me going to a yeshiva, that's where I'm going next. And so I'm communicating that out. And ironically, that's higher learning studies, you know. And I know this is directly having to do with my soul mission, you know.
Absolutely.
But what's really scary for me and what I've been dealing with like, I don't know, last year is I only need one document for me to move forward, because essentially, you know what? I'm feeling really safe in this container, and I'm just going to speak it out to the universe, because this is a sacred portal right here.
Totally.
All right. As you guys know, I was born intersex. Creates a lot of challenges in my life, because and part of this process of moving to Israel is making Aliyah, which means becoming an Israeli citizen.
Okay.
And part of that is having the proper documentation to move forward and being in integrity with it. Part of that is what has come up is I have gotten all of my documents in except for one that allows me to get my birth certificate changed to the male gender, which, you know, is a part of me.
Absolutely. Okay.
And, you know, anyone who is not familiar with the term intersex, I was born as both genders. It's different than transgender, which is beautiful. You know, it's just a different setup completely.
I just want to, in total innocence of just like asking like the frequency of hermaphrodite, like is that similar?
Yes.
Or okay?
So ironically, in the if you want to even look at it from a Jewish perspective, in the rabbinical writings, there are like 6 to 8 different genders mentioned.
Wow.
In those rabbinical writings, like they were completely aware.
It happens.
Other notable beings in the Torah that were part of essentially these different genders. Adam.
Wow.
Written right there in the Hebrew. Abraham and Sarah.
Okay.
So really, guys, it's not what it seems, you know? Like,
That's like number one thing. Nothing's ever as it seems.
right.
I mean, literally, we've been talking about like how we kind of got intermarried from like the different versions of the different types of angels and the different frequencies therein, and thus it makes sense. You know, congratulations, you do the Punnett square out long enough, it's gonna be a little different. I mean, the Native Americans, they had over 16 different words for various forms of gender identity and gender fluidity, being.
Yeah. It's a thing.
It is.
In this society.
Binary, you must be black or white, you must be male or female, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, we're rainbows. We're human, multi-human. Like,
This is interesting.
Meryl?
I'm being guided to put this in part 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to go for that?
Let's do that.
Okay.
So when you return the following week, you'll get the whole scoop on everything.
I'm excited. Yeah, because this opened a whole new can of worms.
We just opened up a whole new can of worms.
But that's part of doing the shadow work, right?
Right.
Is exploring it. Like, one thing that could have just been totally innocuous can actually be like a whole reflection of what you're experiencing, who you are. Like, you know, like for me, just to, you know, again, this is sacred container. This is open. Part of my feelings of recognizing like my gay frequency of attraction to men was honestly in a direct response to I didn't feel loved by a male energy as a kid. And as a direct result, I then started to seek that out as an adult. And now I'm in a space where it's like, I like the form of men, but I'm not normally actually attracted to the actual presence of a man. So it's like working with both and then recognizing like, what is it that I'm actually attracted to? And then like, so I've been finding like, you know, certain forms of men. I like muscular men. I like ones that are very built. I tend to be a very more feminine energy myself. And, you know, again, nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong under the sun, except for what you make it to be wrong. Right? And so it's like me recognizing what I'm attracted to, me recognizing how I feel. I had to really explore who I am, how I am, and then what aspects and why I want to do the things that I want to do, right? So why am I a coffee drinker? I'm a coffee drinker because my family drinks coffee, right? I used to eat meat because my family eats meat. And, you know, and that's just the way I was raised. But then it comes to the point where it's like, okay, do I want to eat meat anymore? It's not right. It's not wrong. I'm just being present too. Do I like it? Does it make my body feel good? Does it create the bliss codes that I'm after? And that's part of doing the shadow work, is exploring where the bliss codes activated. What actually is in alignment? What am I excited about? Because if it's not exciting, honey, I got better things to do than to with you. How you do?
Oh, wow.
I whip my hair back, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell.
Oh, wow.
I didn't write it. I just love it.
Oh, my word. I don't know why in my head I have that video of shoes. You ever see that?
Oh, my God. Shoes? These shoes rock.
These
shoes rock. These shoes suck. And these shoes suck.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Oh, God. Like, throwback to the 90s, shall we?
For real.
Or early 2000s.
I think it's
early,
2000s. Yeah.
We were both in our teens at that point. Yeah. For those of y'all who don't know, shoes, look it up because it's great. But it definitely goes to go back to that old throw of like when everybody just repeated the same one lines for their song. Maybe they still do that nowadays. I stopped listening to modern music.
Me too. Except for Adele. Listen to her new album.
I haven't listened to it yet. I'm sure it's very emotional and talking about her latest breakup.
This is very Scorpio.
Oh.
She went in. Remember, she had her Saturn return, which is part of.
Is she that young still? Her Saturn return. I mean, that's when you're like 27, 28.
1988 was her birth year.
Oh, well, okay. So we're the same age then. Okay.
Yeah, no, this one went deep, and this was I got to watch the interview slash concert that she did. She said it at a planetarium, an observatory, okay? Stars everywhere. She had her Saturn earrings on and her Saturn tattoo, really highlighting. I love the fact that she really like harnesses that energy and like layers it. It's definitely in alignment with her earth sign. She's a Taurus, by the way.
Yeah.
She's a Taurus. She has a Scorpio earth. And her moon is Sagittarius, and her rising is Cancer.
Okay.
Hey, I remember everybody's chart.
I'm like, wow. My brain, like, the only thing I can hold on to is my chart. I'm like, wow. And you're just like...
It's kind of like Carm, too. If you ask her, she can literally go into her computer of a brain.
She still remembers mine sometimes. I'm like, wow, Carm, get it.
If you're an astrologer, most likely you can remember people's charts if you've done them.
I remember people's card readings weeks, months, years later, and I'm like, wow, yeah, that still affecting you? How did you work through that? And they'll be like, how did you remember that? I'm like, I don't know. I just remember the cards. I remember the thing we talked about, or they'll tell me like one card that was on the table, and then the rest of the snapshot comes back, and I'm like, that photographic memory thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Totally. And I feel like that's probably exactly what it is. That's just your zhuzh. You do the stars. Yeah.
Speaking of, would you pick a card on behalf of the collective to kind of wrap up this this energy before we catapult it in the next?
All right. Okay.
Guess we're going there. Ooh, hello.
All right, hello. So we're gonna go with The Shaman's Dream Oracle by Alberto. I'm sorry, Alberto. Alberto Villadodo. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Alberto. But it's by Colette Baron Reed as well. I'm pretty sure he's the artist. I love Colette Baron Reed. So this card is the Vanishing Mirror with Ego Sublimation. Oof.
Ooh.
It's number 58 for you number freaks, which is 13, which is 4. I'm the number freak. I like foundation. I like figuring out how we're creating our reality. And with ego sublimation, we're going to be letting go of self-centeredness and becoming a vessel of possibility. Do you ever wonder if your self-definition has become too rigid, too fixed around what you've come to learn, so that you contract your life into zones of safe versus unsafe? This here is okay, but over there, well, that might be too risky. Judgment, fear, self-righteousness, and overconfidence are only some of the traits that keep you from evolving. We are all products of our own conditioning, so remember that this is part of the human experience, yet you are not meant to remain ecstatic, seeking only what you expect. Even if it appears ambitious, it's still too narrow. You go nowhere when you hesitate to move out of your comfort zone. When you focus too much on yourself this way, you become a servant of the ego. It edges God out, removing the magic of possibility. Imagine looking into a mirror and seeing only what you are now. If you can let your self-definition soften, moving beyond the veil to your potential, a magical emptiness exists where all things are possible. Look again. Who could you be? What would you see reflected if you allowed yourself to be other than how you define yourself now? Nothing less is required of you now. In this moment, let go of who you think you are and allow a new you to emerge. You will recognize yourself as what you are, a partner in co-creation, in service to the divine. Doesn't it feel good?
You know, on that note, thank you for that reading, by the way. I encourage y'all to, like it said, co-creator, you know, that partnership. And some people need a physical partner to talk through something. Or sometimes it's an expression piece of, talking to yourself, whether that's on camera or writing or art form or music or whatever that is. I encourage you to take that energy And what we were also expressing, the house of Sagittarius, North Node, Gemini, communicating, exactly what that card said, and going deep into yourself and communicating that outward and see what comes, like what layers come up, to allow you to catapult to a new dimension.
And to really remember that you're not alone. Right? Through communicating that you want something, or that you're desiring something, or that you're excited about something, allows for you to then invite that newness into the world around you, right? So if you didn't reach out to that school, you never would be able to be to that school.
Truth.
Because you communicated your desire, so thus we all get to rise higher. So thank you for reaching out for what you desire. Because that's the magic. That's literally what we're here to co-create. And I love this word frequency of co-create, because it gets out of the head of the ego consciousness of like, oh my God, I am the creator. I am oneness and source, and all things emanate directly from me. It's like, you're a part of it. Yes, you are part of this dance that we are all co-creating together. So let's co-create a beautiful world. But if you put the weight of the on your shoulders of the entire world, that's exhausting. Trust me, I know. 33 years of living it. Because I'm the Leo, I'm the sun, everything revolves around me. Hello.
That was funny.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm so over it. But we'll get more into this on part 2.
Yes. Thank you all, divine, beautiful souls, for listening. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel, and
Rootz NFLuX.
All right. Shalom.